My parents always said that if you can walk on the moon, you can achieve anything in life. But I was not really sure about that, because dreams were for other people. For me, it was just like, reaching my small goals. I was not very good at school, for example, not especially good in gymnastics. We had this wooden horse, and I was sitting behind this wooden horse, so I didn't have to prove to other people that I could not play football. That was kind of my comfort zone. One day, I was sitting watching the television, and I was seeing somebody playing the piano, and I asked my parents, "Who's that?" And they said, "Well, it's Elton John, he plays the piano." And I started to think about like dreams, and I said that, well, that's one of my dreams, but he's Elton John, but I'm just Johan, so I mean, I cannot do those things. But then I thought he must have been also like a small kid one day starting to play the piano. So I asked my parents, so what do I have to do to become like a piano player? And they said 3 things. You must focus, you must stay motivated, and you must practice. And I said, well, can I become Elton John just by doing that? No, but you can become a piano player. And then it's up to you how far you want to push it. So I started to play the piano, and I started to play even more and more and more, and I made a bet with myself. Within 3 years, I would become a piano player, and I would work as a piano player, and people would pay me to play the piano. After 3 years, I was a piano player. I was working in the south of France. I was working down in Cannes, and I played the piano. Somebody paid me to play the piano. For me, that was kind of my first expedition, my first exploration, to actually have a goal and to reach that goal by believing myself. To me, that was very important, because that was the start of everything. It was the start of a 20-year-long journey. I was working at the Grand Hotel in Stockholm, and I was sitting with my friends, and I was playing the piano, and they said, you happen to have an ear for music, but you can't just do anything just by being motivated and focus and practice. I said, well, I can become whatever I want to. I can become a professor if I want to, or a doctor if I just want to focus on that. But I don't. And they said, well, I mean, let's say something. Let's just give you an example. If you were the worst in the football team, you could never do something physical. So you cannot do anything physical just with those 3 things, like motivation, focusing, and practice. And we made a bet that I would quit my job from the Grand Hotel in Stockholm. I would get a bicycle, and I would bike down to the Sahara. So I had biked a little bit before, but I never done that kind of biking before. So I quit my job, and I went down to the store to fix my bike, and I started to bike. And 52 days later, I was in the Sahara. I made it all the way. I came back again, and I started to think, was this a one-off, or is this a start of a new lifestyle? Are there other things in life that I maybe can do? So I started to move outside my comfort zone and started to push my limits even more. And my next big expedition was to climb Mount McKinley. The problem was I've never climbed before. During that first expedition to Mount McKinley, I figured out, I started to understand that I have to know how to climb. So I called up the climbing association in Sweden, and I asked them one single question. I need the names of the 10 best climbers in Sweden. So I got the names, and I started to call them with one single question. What mistakes have you done? What are the biggest mistakes you've done in your career? And that was my biggest knowledge during my climb of Mount McKinley. So I found this guy named Nicholas Gafko, and he went with me, and we started to climb the mountain together. After that, I started to arrange an expedition with a sea kayak to go from Stockholm to Africa. After kayaking to Africa, I got into flying. So I built this specially built boat with wings called a flying boat. So I flew that one across Europe as well, and I had so many problems, you have no idea. I started more and more to get into bureaucracy, these kind of things like permits, and trying to fight my way under and over the radar during my trip across Europe. One day I was sitting with my brother and some friends, and we were going down to a bookstore down in Stockholm. And I found this book called The 7 Summits, which is the highest point on all the 7 continents. It was very interesting because I already had climbed one of them, Mount McKinley. So I was I was really looking for a book about Mount McKinley. And I started to get more and more interested in the concept, what if I would do the 7 summits? Because this was one of my biggest dreams I had in life. I never really wanted to admit it to myself even that it was a dream, because it was so far away. All of the other things has been like goals. This was more of a really dream, to stand on the top of this planet. So I focused 100% and I motivated myself 100%. I had a photo when I was jogging in my gym every day on the summit of Mount Everest to remind myself that I would actually be on the summit of Everest. So when I reached the summit, it felt like I've been there like every day for like 1 year. I knew that I was going to make it. The problem was just how was I going to make it? The feeling of starting, you know, the first steps up Mount Everest, I felt like, is this really something that is really achievable for me? So I talked to my Sherpa, and and then I wanted to give up. And I said, like, oh my God, I have to go down, I'm so tired. And he said, well, haven't you been tired before? Yeah, I was tired when I was kayaking to Africa. Did you want to give up? Yeah. Did you continue? Yeah. So what happened? Well, I reached Africa. So are you tired now? Yes. Do you want to give up? Yes. But if you continue one more step, you will actually get one more step closer to the summit. So I started to move one more step and one more step, and after a long time I reached the summit. But summit is only like halfway, then you have to go down again. My dream on Mount Everest was not to reach the summit, it was to go up to the summit, which was like a goal, and then go down again to base camp, because that was my dream, to get down alive. What if I could combine all these kind of experiences? What if I can combine all the exploration that I've done over the years? What if I can combine the Arctic and Antarctica? What if also I can combine the biking when I was biking to Africa? Or even the kayaking. I started to understand that the perfect adventure for me would be to do a combination of everything that I've done. Pole to Pole became my biggest adventure ever. Also my longest, 525 days, 18 months, 9 months of biking, together of 180 days of polar crossings of Greenland, North Pole and South Pole. Combining film, photo, text and all these things within one book, it will become the perfect packaging of an adventure. This is my story. This is Pole to Pole, one of my biggest adventures.